This man owned the apartment at the very top of the world, the highest one, the most expensive one, the one every single person below him wanted, and in about 3 years, he lost all of it, handed over on a courthouse step, walking away with nothing but the debt. Here is the number that should scare anyone who has ever dreamed of a place like this. He paid $50.9 million for a penthouse on Billionaires Row in Manhattan. When the bank was finished with him, it sold at foreclosure for $36 million. That is $14.9 million gone on an apartment that never lost its view, never moved an inch, and never got a single day worse to look at. And here's the part that makes no sense at first. You would assume a penthouse this high up is the safest money in all of real estate. Scarce, prime, only ever goes up. It is the exact opposite. In fact, the purchase price you just heard is the cheapest thing about owning one of these. If you appreciate this type of content, gently tap that like button and let's get to work. Over the next few minutes, I am going to show you, using real apartments and real public records, 3 things. How a penthouse quietly drains its owner every single month. How one envelope slipped under the door can cost millions overnight. And why the exit, the door marked sell and walk away, is basically painted onto the wall. Keep that $14.9 million loss in the back of your mind, because I am going to come back and show you exactly how it happened. To understand it, start with the building that turned all of this into a national scandal, 432 Park Avenue. For years, the tallest residential tower in the Western Hemisphere. A pencil-thin spike of glass and money standing over the Manhattan skyline, packed with some of the richest people alive. Getting in cost a fortune. But staying in, that is where the real bleeding begins. Because here's the trap almost nobody sees coming. When you buy a penthouse, you think the terrifying number is behind you. You signed. You own the sky. But a trophy apartment does not behave like a normal home. It behaves like a super yacht or a private jet. It charges you rent for the privilege of owning it, and that bill lands every month, whether you are sleeping in it or sitting on the far side of the planet. At 432 Park, one single listed unit carried common charges of about $24,012 a month. On top of that, property taxes of roughly $14,811 a month. Put those two together, and you are staring at nearly $39,000 every month before you have paid 1 cent toward the actual mortgage. Some units in that building push the combined figure closer to $50,000 a month. Sit with that for a second. That is not the price of the apartment. That is just the toll to keep the lights on, the doorman at the desk, and the elevator running. Roughly $39,000 a month forever, indexed to only ever climb. Run that across a single year, and you are past $460,000, and you have not gained one thing. You are simply renting your own apartment back from the building year after year for as long as you dare to hold it. And believe me, that is the good news part of this story. Quick 30-second break. If this is the kind of breakdown you enjoy, the description and the pinned comment below have plenty more of them, where I take the toys the ultra-rich buy and lay the real receipts on the table. Okay, back in, because this is the exact moment where a bad month turns into a financial catastrophe. It has a boring name, the special assessment. Here's how it detonates. When a building needs a major repair, it does not have a few spare millions sitting in a drawer. So the board simply splits the bill across every owner and mails it out. And at 432 Park, the repairs were not small. Owners took the developer to court, claiming more than 1,500 construction and design defects in the very tower they had paid tens of millions to live in. And I am not dramatizing a single word of this. You can check all of it. A plumbing failure sent water pouring into the elevator shafts and shut them down for weeks. The facade was described in the owner's own lawsuit as plagued with thousands of cracks, including one crack running roughly 10 inches deep into the building's core. Residents said the tower swayed and creaked so hard in the wind that the trash chutes and the elevators became unusable. And the condominium board sued the developer, CIM Group for more than $165 million. And while the lawyers fought it out, the owners paid. As the charges climbed to cover the disaster, some residents were reported to be hit with tens of thousands of dollars in fresh costs, figures around $82,000 per owner in assessments, late fees, and interest. You cannot vote your way out of a cracked spine or a flooded elevator shaft. And when the bill goes out, the biggest, most valuable unit pays the biggest slice. That is the penthouse. It is always the penthouse. Now let's collect on that $14.9 million loss I promised you at the very start. Different tower, exact same trap. 157, another Billionaires Row skyscraper just a few blocks away. A Nigerian businessman named Kola Aluko walked in and bought a full-floor penthouse on the 79th floor, about 6,240 square feet. Brand new. $50.9 million. He borrowed roughly $35.3 million of it from a private bank. And then the payments stopped. He fell behind on the loan. He fell behind on the maintenance and the taxes, the exact monthly bleed we just walked through. So the bank forced the sale. At the foreclosure auction, that penthouse went for $36 million, around 29% below what he paid for it. And according to the appraisal firm Miller Samuel, it was not the first unit in that single building to sell at a loss. It was the fourth. Same tower. Fourth time. And there is a specific reason these numbers fall so hard, so fast. When you buy a brand new penthouse, a huge slice of that price is what you might call the first owner premium. You are paying for the shine, the launch, the privilege of being the very first name on that deed. But the instant the keys are in your hand, that shine is gone. Your brand new penthouse is now a used one. It is the most expensive version of driving a car off the lot that has ever existed, except the car costs $50 million, and the drop can be millions of dollars in a single afternoon. Which brings us to the cruelest part of all, and the reason none of these owners can simply cut their losses and leave. The exit door is mostly fake. Think for a second about who can actually buy a $50 million penthouse. It has to be a person who has $50 million and who wants that exact apartment in that exact building, in that exact city, at that exact moment. That is not a market. That is maybe a handful of human beings on the entire planet. So the units just sit for months, sometimes for years. And every single day they sit there unsold. The $39,000 a month does not pause. The taxes do not pause. The assessments do not pause. The owner just keeps feeding a machine they are now desperate to switch off. So who actually wins here? Because somebody always does, and it is almost never the name on the deed. When one of these penthouses finally sells, it so often goes for less than it cost, exactly as Miller Samuel's data on those repeat 157 losses shows. The owner eats the gap. Everyone else gets paid on the way through. The building collects its charges. The city collects its taxes. The brokers collect twice, once on the purchase, and again on the fire sale. The lawyers collect on the defect suits. Strip a penthouse all the way down to what it truly is, and it is a machine. One that quietly converts a single person's fortune into steady, reliable income for everyone standing around them. So no, a penthouse is not the safest trophy in real estate. It may be one of the most dangerous things you can possibly own, precisely because it looks so safe. It does not crash in one dramatic afternoon you can point to. It bleeds, quietly, patiently, month after month after month, until the person who bought the top of the world wakes up one day, realizes they can no longer afford the view, and discovers there is not a single soul standing in line to take it off their hands. And if you want to watch this exact same trap swallow an even bigger target, I broke down how mega mansions quietly destroy the people who buy them. Same machine. Just more land and even more ways to lose. You can start that one right here.